If you are sort of going, do I make a short film or do I make a web series? I do think the web series has a bit more practical industry sort of applications to turn around and say, this is how I did this and this is how we did it with the money that we had and the time that we had. By the time I came out of AFTRS, I probably had nearly 8 short films under my belt. The sort of very transparent truth is that I've never had a great deal of success come out of a short. That really hasn't been how I've kind of moved into the industry, but I think they're a great way to learn and they're a great way to connect with people that you're coming up with. So coming to web series to me was like, in a way, almost shaking off shorts, because I'd had this amazing but very challenging year at AFTRS and we were really drilled sort of on 3-act structure. I found it really hard to try and get a 3-act structure into a short film. It was something that I felt was like this enormous challenge and only a few ever managed to do. Whereas web series was this emerging format of the time. It wasn't really clear what they could or couldn't be, and I think to this day they're still like this really amorphous format, and that's very liberating. And really what I always tried to do with Fragments of Friday, my kind of calling card web series, was to create a mini TV show. And it was episodic but with a series arc through all of it, and to go, what is the sort of sitcom of these 5 minutes?
Get my EpiPen! You gotta take the cap off! You gotta take the cap off!
Web series you're doing almost with your hands tied behind your back, because you have not a lot of money and not a lot of resources, and usually your page count in terms of what you're shooting per day naturally has to be quite high because you're so limited in the scope of what you can achieve. So for me it was being able to turn around at the end and saying, I shot this hour of content for the second series in this amount of time and this is the product we achieved with it. So then when I was going and stepping up towards having meetings about going into broadcast or longer form, I was able to say, I feel really confident that I can handle the budget and the schedule, because look at what I've already done on next to no money. When I came to the other guy, I kind of pitched hard on the tone, and I sort of pitched hard on what I considered the show to be. Was like, yes, it's a breakup comedy, but actually it's a buddy comedy. It's about AJ and Stevie, these 2 best mates who have known each other from high school, just bumbling through their adulthood with not a lot of success. And so I kind of was reframing it a little as I pitched it, to say, I think the story's also really over here.
Own it, own it. 24/7, we own it. Living in heaven, we own it. Drinking them bevs, we own it. Chicken Kievs, own it.
I think in a way, like, that wonderful naivety is a great quality of just surviving your first job, but also then going, you have to trust your gut so much on that first job as well. And I think working with the right people and collaborating and feeling like you're supported is a big chunk of getting that first job on the board. I was lucky enough to be part of Screen Australia's Talent LA cohort, and I ultimately ended up with WME and Mosaic as my managers. I had then done 2 or 3 trips to sort of just what they call generals, go and, you know, run around for 2 weeks and meet producers, and from there I ended up having a breakfast with Greg Daniels, who is a titan of the television industry. He is one of the creators of Parks and Rec and The Office, and he had a new show coming up called Upload on Amazon. Went away, lived my life, and then a few months later kind of got a call from my agent saying they want you, and I was in Vancouver 2 weeks later.
What are you doing in the whirlpool bath?
I'm needed. Fly away.
Upload was a very VFX heavy show, and what I kind of quickly found was that even though I hadn't had a great deal of experience in VFX, I actually had more of a handle on what it required than what I had given myself credit for. As a director, you're still having to ask, what's the right shot? What do I need to tell the story within the scene that we're doing? And in the end, especially working in the sort of huge framework of episodic TV in the States, it's like there's just so many people to support you, and so all I had to really do was say, this is how I see the scene, this is my best guess at how we can achieve it, and then everybody else starts to chip in and becomes a less mysterious process for sure. The advice I would give in terms of making that leap to long form is making your own content. For me, it was being able to have this really strong calling card that anybody could watch because it was on the internet as well. But I think the pathway is really different for lots of people. My advice in terms of pitching yourself is you just have to be confident and you have to come in with a take. You have to have a version of what you see is the show, and I think especially on tone and a little bit on visual style, but I think tone is everything in a pitch and it's the feeling of a show. And if you're not getting that feeling right, I think that's when producers start to sort of have a bit of a nervous energy. And so really drilling home that you know what the show feels like, that has worked for me.